See you later. All right, we're bringing in Audrey from Facebook. Audrey, can you hear me?
I can. How's it going, Derek?
It's going great. I am so looking forward to this session. I think everybody here wishes they had an Audrey on their team, but none of us can afford you. So, yeah, if we can steal your brain for 30 minutes, everybody, this is where we're going to want to take notes. And by the way, we are creating show notes in the back end. I'll share a link to that to make sure everybody here has access to that because I have a feeling you're going to want to take notes for this one. With that said, Audrey, I'm just going to let you take it away.
Rad. Thank you so much, Derek. Hey, everyone. I hope it's going well. I hope you're having fun and learning a ton. My name is Audrey Burgess. I am a creative researcher on the marketing science research team within Facebook's Creative Shop. Stoked to be here today to talk with you about some creative trends that we've seen emerging around the world. So at Creative Shop, we have a pretty unique perspective on creativity because we sit at the intersection of the industry and people on our platforms, and we get to see what's happening around the world. And what we see from that vantage point is that the creative climate is always shaped, molded, and inspired by people and culture. I'm sure many of you have seen the same, and beyond that, have seen the interaction of creative and cultural shifts. So we've started each year to take a look back at the creative trends that have emerged from leading advertisers around the world and to see what they show us about what might be ahead. We call this the creative forecast. Now, the work that we can study best is the work that we're most involved in with our client and agency partners around the world. So, to get a look at what themes might be emerging, this year we analyzed 100 randomly selected campaigns out of the best work from our own internal creative reviews. We call these top tier projects lighthouse and spotlight campaigns because they tend to show the way forward or illuminate something special. And as we reviewed these 100 campaigns from 2020, we focused on the themes and behaviors we saw happening in about 20 to 50% of them. The idea here was to find emerging behaviors that were shared but not yet universal. Now, to step back for a minute, let's talk about what we mean by lighthouse and spotlight work. We select our lighthouse and spotlight work overall based on a number of factors like driving excellent results, making the most of our platforms, exemplifying great craft, and keeping people at the heart of creative. But business impact is critical because if creative isn't building brands and selling products, then it's not working at all. We assess the impact of the work on our platforms by comparing to vertical and regional benchmarks for brand and conversion metrics like ad recall or sales lift, and for off-platform metrics as well. We assign projects a score based on how they're performing compared to those benchmarks. The strongest campaigns become lighthouses and spotlights, and that's the work that we'll talk about today. So what did we learn as we looked back on some of the strongest campaigns across 2020? Well, firstly, it's safe to say that 2020 was a unique year, but in a lot of ways, the changes brought on by 2020 also marked a major turning point. And some of the changes that we've seen are definitely here to stay. And that includes our response to relationships with and expectations of creativity and businesses. Our chat today is focused on some of the changes that we've seen, and these are changes that will have impact beyond 2020 or 2021, and then what we can learn from those changes to excel in the future. First and foremost, creativity and connection start with people. And people are pushing hard for brands to become more culturally aware, more personal, and more participatory. The days of being talked at are gone. Connecting creatively is no longer about control and exclusivity. It's about flexibility, inclusion, and evolution. People are gravitating to brands that reflect, that captivate, that reward them. And folks are more than willing to spend their time with the ones who can do just that. So, as we looked across the changes in people's behavior over the last year, we saw 5 themes for how we can build creativity for the future. Build inclusively, create edutainment, sell with ideas, speak platform language, and reward self-discovery. Today, we're going to talk through each of these. We'll break down the change in people's behavior that's inspiring it, how brands are successfully tapping into those shifts, and share some creative springboards to inspire our work in the future. Let's start with build inclusively. 2020 saw a social awakening on a lot of dimensions around the world. But one of the shared themes, what many people have been clamoring for, is a world that sees, recognizes, respects, and celebrates everyone for who they are. The brands that have been able to break through were the ones who went beyond just acknowledging that and actually started fully reflecting and depicting their audiences in a more representative and insightful way. Their reward has been wider acceptance and more relevance, in addition to the inherent value of contributing to positive and diverse representation. 69% of Gen Z and millennials say they think it's positive for brands to feature diverse models. Retail brand Chic Me wanted to rise to meet that expectation. So they teamed up with 2 body neutrality influencers. Body neutrality is a movement focused on accepting your body for what it is. And with those influencers, they work to foster an open conversation promoting body and self-acceptance. And they did this all through a shoppable live environment. The partnership and event broke stereotypes, and the results shattered expectations. Or Can-Am. They wanted to make the road more inclusive to women to ride their 3-wheeled motorcycles. So they built an inclusive Facebook group for women by women that educates and empowers them to ride. The group is led by the community themselves for maximum authenticity and impact, with Can-Am providing support to drive enrollment and celebrate the roads they're taking on together. Or L'Oreal. L'Oreal saw a chance to take an advocacy role, to get people buying again during COVID, but also to celebrate diversity within beauty. Not only did L'Oreal reimagine the beauty festival for the digital age, they reimagined the representatives of beauty. For the first time, they paired women and men to provide cosmetic and skincare tips via live. Then, they gave their audience the opportunity to connect with 122 diverse beauty advisors in Messenger, so folks could get advice from experts that they could identify with. So if we want to build inclusively, what are some questions we could use as a springboard? How can we authentically and truthfully represent our whole potential audience? Is there a group of people we're currently overlooking that we could better serve to create more inspiring and inclusive work? Is there a topic or issue for which we could uniquely advocate? Or is there a cultural taboo that we could shed light on in an authentic way to make a deeper connection with people? Next up, create edutainment. 2020 shifted how we do a lot of things, but beyond Zoom call jokes, people had to embrace new ways of getting information because it just wasn't available the way it used to be. There have always been brands that want to share their origin story or educate on their value. But the brands that excelled in 2020 found ways to earn attention with experiences and to share information in a way that didn't feel like a lecture or a chore. During COVID, hand washing became critical, and not just washing, but washing well and thoroughly, which is not necessarily the most fun and engaging point to make with kids, but it's an important one to land. So Pinkfong created the Baby Shark Hand Wash Challenge. It's a participative tutorial on hand hygiene brought to life on Facebook and Instagram's AR effects. The camera effect allowed parents to film their kids while they wash their hands and add cool AR features. The kids were thrilled to see themselves performing with the famous baby shark, and parents got to confirm that their kids were washing their hands properly. So not only did it get those kiddos washing their hands, it drove action intent, reach, and media coverage for Pinkfong. Todinho is a traditional chocolate milk drink for kids in Brazil, and they've been working on a healthier formula and also on new positioning as a partner for children's growth. In an effort to bring parents and kids together while they educated them on the product benefits, they created an interactive AR effects platform with music and dance to drive family connection and movement. Not only did this create a shared experience, but it drove effective and efficient ad recall. Research has found that only 50% of women do a breast self check regularly. And women who are dissatisfied with the appearance of their breasts are less confident about detecting a change that could be a sign of breast cancer. So Copafeel, a UK-based organization focused on increasing self-checks, wanted to work to make a younger generation feel more confident and to make breast checks habitual. They drove awareness and action through an informative and inclusive tool, BoobBot. BoobBot is a world-first messenger bot that takes you through a personalized, step-by-step breast self-check through monthly subscriptions. It's free, it's got help for folks of all genders, it's informative, it's pretty funny, and it's effective. So if we want to create edutainment, how can we think about our work moving forward? Is there a problem we can turn into an opportunity and create a behavior for people to emulate? Can we turn our story into compelling entertainment that earns attention? If we wanted to reward audiences for their time and attention, what could we give them? And how can we turn our ideas into something truly useful for our audience? The third behavior we saw was to sell with ideas. As our lives shifted indoors, people lost some of the physical interactions and serendipity that might normally lead to discovering new ideas or new interests, whether from meeting up with friends, hitting up their favorite stores, or attending cultural events. Instead, we even more deeply leaned into our feeds as the always-on discovery engines that they are. And that, in some ways, turned out to be even better than we expected. The brands that thrived in this environment didn't just enable e-commerce. They made themselves discoverable, not just by using ideas to stand out, but to do so in a way that closed the sale. Allbirds is a leisure sneaker brand, known as the world's comfiest sneaker, and for their deep commitment to sustainability and eco-friendly products. They were launching the Dasher, their first ever performance running shoe. To introduce it to the world, they used a beta typing methodology to test the right mix of functional product benefit messaging versus sustainability messaging. Creative testing helped them find the right set of ideas, and through that, to drive strong sales performance and to successfully establish credibility in a new category. Pomelo's birthday sales is one of their big sales events of the year, and typically they rely heavily on dynamic ads. But this year, Pomelo wanted to reward their community and build a sale for all. Using polling, the brand allowed the community across markets to decide which items they really wanted to go on sale. The most voted products got a discount during the sales day. Not only did this audience-first approach get fans excited, it drove return on ad spend improvements and helped them to evolve their creative strategy. On top of that, they got bonus customer insights, and fans got a discount on their favorite items. I believe that's a win-win-win-win-win. Westpac Bank created Tales of the Gig Economy to celebrate the weird ways some young people made their money. In addition to being entertaining, it positioned Westpac as the bank that both understands and is there to support them in getting ahead, however unusual that path might look. This campaign approach defied financial services category conventions with great success, reducing cost per install while driving brand love. So how can we connect our community to our products and build ideas that sell? Maybe we could start by asking how we could use a differentiating concept to both drive interest and convert potential buyers. How could we turn a pivotal sales moment into a thumb-stopping idea? What if we leveraged an aspect of our brand, product, or a cultural moment to inspire a larger idea? Or ask what audience needs to know you better and how you can design experiences that speak to their key motivations. Next up, let's talk about speaking platform language. 2020 saw an explosion of creativity across digital platforms, not least across ours. Amid the constraints of our houses and home lives, we found all kinds of new ways to express ourselves and connect with each other. And oftentimes that meant leaving the traditional polish and craft and curation of years before behind. The brands that turned heads and won hearts did the same. They leaned into the language of the platform to meet people on their terms and to make themselves more authentic and relatable. They embraced lo-fi production, user-generated content, and creators, to name just a few. And the results spoke for themselves. With Together I Am Strong, German retailer Zalando created a composite tribute to celebrate home athletes in their own language. The brand took the stories, videos, reels, and images that people everywhere were posting and created a celebratory campaign of the creative ways we were all staying fit at home. The campaign struck a chord and clearly stood out in a sea of COVID ad sameness, driving significant brand lift across all of their measured markets. Or Lotte Chilsung, a Korean cider brand. Using a language their coveted younger audience thrives on, creators, they found a way to speak to their audience in ways that worked better than anything they'd done before. The creators each used their artistic expression to play with the idea, spicy loves chill, and to turn beverage consumption occasions into occasions for self-expression, and honestly, to create some really cool visual art. In turn, they saw huge gains in message association and action intent among key demographics. Or Sweat. Sweat is one of the most popular fitness apps in Asia Pacific, and it's a position they built by running performance campaigns on our platforms. But when they had a new product to launch, rather than repeating claims and workout prompts, Sweat asked the community to speak for themselves in their own language. With a combination of live widths and sticker packs, Sweat gave a voice to how their community works out and found a new level of success in return. So if you are ready to start speaking the language of people and platforms, Think about this. How can the natural language of platforms be an integral storytelling tool to connect with people on their terms? Can we leverage an existing trend and make our story more relatable? Is there a community we could activate to tell a shared story in their own language? Or which creator's authentic voice could help to diversify and amplify our own? Lastly, reward self-discovery. As our entertainment and curiosity moved even more online in 2020, people weren't just spending more time than ever across our platforms. They were exploring, they were enjoying what they were finding, and they were delighting in the journey of discovery. People jumped at the chance to use the platforms not just to consume content passively, but to actively participate and explore. And the brands that connected most deeply realized that brand building is now a participation sport. They fed folks' desire for exploration and for discovery at their own pace. Rather than just introduce their product to a new audience, Cosnova, a European cosmetics brand, decided to invite that audience to participate in rewriting a more inclusive and representative version of beauty. Together, the community created an AR beauty mask, not to hide behind, but to celebrate who they are and what they're most proud of. In return, the brand found a whole new set of loyal evangelists in a coveted younger cohort who were now pink and proud. Or when Acura was planning their 30th birthday, they could have created a long form film, maybe in black and white, about their history. Instead, they decided to give people the chance to get in the driver's seat themselves, to experience 30 years worth of heart racing nostalgia firsthand. The retro arcade styled mobile game pulled people in an unprecedented way, driving both significant gameplays and consideration lift. When people want advice, they often turn to friends with tools like Messenger. So, to take cooking help to a new level and make sure Hellman's was the key ingredient, they created a messenger bot. The bot temporarily connected people looking for ideas for leftovers in their fridge with people from the social gastronomy community who could teach them how to make something delicious from what they had on hand. So, if we want to create in a way that rewards self discovery, some things we could think about. How can ideas that drive participation and discovery elevate our connection with our audiences? Is there a linear story we could tell? Could we build our ideas as rewards along that narrative path? And where can we use the community's real time feedback and support? How could we take their ideas and turn them into action? So, having walked through all of these behaviors, I hope you've enjoyed the tour of how culture and expectations of creativity are evolving. And I think evolving in a really good way, in a way that asks brands to take that extra step into something more inclusive, more engaging, more rewarding. That evolution is creating exciting new opportunities for brands to connect with people and sparking new ideas for how to harness that potential. Because how culture has changed really has started to change creativity. And these are changes that are here to stay. And it's left us with a handful of provocations to think about as we start building together. And keep in mind that these questions, these prompts, these behaviors, just like the cultural shifts that drive them, are not mutually exclusive. You can create informative, inclusive edutainment, like Copperfield did with BoobBot. You can leverage platform language to create a discovery journey, like Cosnova did with their community-driven AR effects. So let's ask ourselves what we want to do next. Let's dream big, let's dream inclusively, and ask how we can invite everyone to come along with us. Thanks so much.
Audrey, wow, that was amazing. The examples there are absolutely phenomenal, and I'm curious. These 5 bullets hit me really close to home personally. I don't think there would have been these 5 bullet points 5 years ago. Certainly not 10 years ago. I'm curious as to when do you think it changed into the exception of inclusivity and self-discovery and all of these things in the past? And then also curious as to how it stays the same or changes in the future.
For sure. I think it's a matter of degrees, right? There's certainly going to maybe be a point where we're getting outside a little bit more and we're spending a little bit less time sort of discovering things online for a while. But then if you look at the trends toward inclusivity, towards representation, those seem to be things that are going to continue, if not accelerate. I think the key here is that a lot of these are critical trends that we expect to evolve. And that's part of why we keep an eye on culture. But we don't expect them to necessarily just fall away. My expectation is that a lot of these trends are here to stay to a greater or lesser degree with greater or lesser evolution along the way.
Yeah, I agree completely. And if you think about these points, inclusivity is simply good for humanity. So like we're not forcing it on people. We're helping them discover it in a way. We're
For sure.
helping them, be encouraged to be more inclusive. Same with, self-discovery is like a natural human phenomena that we want to, figure things out on our own. Edutainment is how we lower trust barriers or raise trust, I guess, lower the barriers of worrying over a product and understanding how it works. So I think all of these, we can call them trends that are bubbling to the surface today are, like you said, here to stay and just kind of natural parts of what should have existed prior, but have become more prominent today.
Absolutely. And I think, people have said that we have gained 5 years worth of technology in a year. And that opens doors, right? Not just for what's going on right now, but for what's possible and how we can lean into the potential of those technological changes, that interactivity, and the ways that we can, have a great discovery journey for all different folks.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Thanks so much. If people want to get in touch with you or if they want a creative campaign like this, where should I send them?
For sure. I think they can check out all the great stuff that we have from Creative Shop and some of our case studies, and take a look at Creative Guidance Navigator, where we've shared all the fun stuff that we've learned about how to do creative really well.
Perfect. I'll share all that in the chat in just a moment. Denise says, Audrey is stellar, smart, and shared amazing insights. Thanks so much, Denise, for sharing.
Thanks,
Audrey,
Denise.
with that, we're going to move right into the next session. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Derek. Thanks, y'all. Take care.